Back in 2004, I wrote my original Rapid Fat Loss Handbook, aka RFL. In a rare case, I would expand and update that in 2008. To a degree, I wrote RFL as a reaction to two other stupid approaches to the topic that existed. One was based around amino acid mixture, while the other, a book by a well-known author that I won't name, was basically a bullshit supplement ad. I knew I could do better, so I did. I based RFL around an approach called the protein-sparing modified fast, or PSMF. The PSMF have developed into the early very low-calorie diets, aka VLCDs. VLCDs are based around calorie intakes of 400 to 800 calories per day. Importantly, most only contained 50 grams of protein, if that. While they generate rapid weight losses, they also cause significant body protein loss, that is, muscle loss. Researchers would spend years fucking about adding carbs and fats to VLCDs with little effect, until someone had the brilliant idea that perhaps the best way to spare protein would be to give more protein. I know it's easy to be critical in hindsight, but well, doy. Long story short, it was found that an intake of 1.5 grams of protein per kilogram of ideal body weight would cause rapid fat loss with little to no body protein losses. And just for the record, ideal body weight is not a thing we use anymore, but essentially it's a proxy for lean body mass. Studies would find true fat losses of 3 to 5 pounds per week, with total fat losses of nearly 30 pounds in 8 to 12 weeks and up to 75 pounds over the better part of the year. Contrary to popular belief, long-term maintenance was often superior to less extreme approaches. Importantly, the PSMF was generally medically monitored, revolved around pure liquid proteins with electrolyte supplementation and fluids. It did not include formal exercise and was, as you'd expect, aimed at people with extreme overweight. My goal with the rapid fat loss approach was fourfold: to generate the maximum fat loss as possible. I mean, it's right there in the name. To spare muscle loss, it needed to provide all essential nutrients while also giving the greatest possibility of transitioning back into normal eating for long-term maintenance. I also wanted to make it more widely applicable to people of varying body fat percentages. All of that meant modifying the PSMF, a modified protein-sparing modified fast, an MPSMF, if you will. Let's just call it RFL. Now, generating the maximum fat loss as possible meant creating the largest calorie deficit. That is, providing the fewest possible calories. But that had to come within the context of the other factors. The primary one being the provision of sufficient protein. Total fasting causes the most rapid weight and fat losses, but too much muscle is lost. You must provide sufficient dietary protein. Towards that, I started with the original PSMF 1.5 gram per kilo protein intakes, but then I scaled them upwards for different body fat percentages and activity levels. That is, as people got leaner, their protein intake per kilogram or pound of lean body mass went up. If they included exercise, that raised their protein requirements even further. I would note that it was in Rapid Fat Loss and the simultaneously released Guide to Flexible Dieting that I developed my category system, which delineates people by body fat percentages, category 1, 2, 3, basically to represent the changes in physiology that we know occur as people get leaner or fatter. So someone carrying excess body fat, my category 3, who's not exercising, might only need 1.5 grams per kilo, or about 0.7 grams per pound, of protein, while someone lean, in my category 1, who is weight training, might need 3.3 grams per kilo, or 1.5 grams per pound of protein. So it's scaled up, so they got leaner and included activity. In addition to providing sufficient protein, I also included an essential fatty acid recommendation. And here I focused only on the omega-3s, the fish oils. Even the lowest fat diets contain some omega-6, and the body has about a year's worth of it stored in the fat cells anyway. It's the fish oils that are always in short supply, unless you are in a culture that eats a lot of fatty fish. In the original RFL in 2004, I recommended alpha-linoleic acid, but later research would show terrible conversion rates to the fish oils. The 2008 update would change this to my standard 1.8 to 3.0 gram combined EPA DHA of preformed fish oils per day. While not essential, I did include vegetables as part of RFL. This is due to their containing the micronutrients, which are essential. Vegetables also help people to poop, which is nice. And importantly, Bart K's bullshit notwithstanding, I consider vegetables as part of an overall baseline diet. Important for the transition back to maintenance. And that was it. The entire diet was sufficient protein, essential fatty acids, and some vegetables, as those, along with fluids and air, represent all the physiologically essential nutrients. All the other carbohydrates and the other types of dietary fats are not essential. Yes, I know vegetables and fiber aren't essential. As stated, they contain the micronutrients which are. Get the fuck over it, Bart. Finally, and in contrast to the medically supervised PSMFs, I based RFL around whole foods. Quite in fact, I was emphatic about it. Yes, liquids and protein supplements give better control over calories and such, but they don't help people learn how to eat or transition back into maintenance. That said, I have amended some of my beliefs and allow some protein powder as a portion of the diet, but food should still be primary in most cases. Now, I'd note that eating whole foods tends to raise calorie intake because there's always some tag-along carbs and fats that cannot be avoided. This does lessen the deficit slightly, contradicting the goal of creating maximum deficit, but I consider it more important for the transition to long-term maintenance. Finally, RFL highly recommended, by which I mean mandated, low volume resistance training is the only required form of activity. That along with sufficient protein intake is what ensures no muscle loss. But it has to be low volume and high intensity. 2 to 3 days per week for a handful of sets per muscle group, and that's it. Not only can you not recover from more than that, it's simply unnecessary. Perhaps shockingly, large amounts of harder cardio not only don't make RFL work better, they make it work worse. Every single person who has ignored my admonition not to do lots of extra cardio on RFL gets shitty results, and then they come complain at me, even though the book says over and over and over not to do it again. High step counts? Fine. That's piss about walking. You cannot do and you do not need to do real cardio on RFL. It makes the diet work worse. And that's it. That's the diet. Now, there's a lot of criticisms of RFL type diets, all of which are based on lore, bullshit, and mostly ignorance. First is the claim that low-calorie diets cause muscle loss. Now, this is true when they don't contain sufficient protein, which most don't, but the PSMF studies are clear. When you provide sufficient dietary protein, you do not see significant body protein losses. At resistance training and muscle loss is nil, and people using my RFL have proved that with my over decades. Yes, there is some early glycogen and water loss that is lean body mass that makes you think you're losing muscle, but it comes right back when you start eating carbs again. On that note, narcissistic douchebag Menno Henselman has apparently claimed that my RFL causes 100% muscle loss. Not only is this a physiological impossibility that has never been seen in any research study in history, it assuredly either represents him telling a bold-faced lie because he doesn't like me, or his ignorance about the difference between lean body mass and muscle mass loss, or both. With someone like him, the line between malice and being a moron is thin indeed. He's wrong in any case. No study has ever seen 100% muscle loss. The lean body mass on RFL is water and glycogen. It's not fucking muscle, morons. This goes for little Milo Wolf too. Oh yeah, Menno, you can still eat a dick for falling back on the "are you off your meds" response to me years ago when I criticized one of your shitty articles. Second criticism is that rapid weight and fat losses are more likely to cause a weight rebound or overshoot. This is also false, with data clearly showing that more rapid fat losses cause, if anything, better long-term results. Mind you, this is predicated on them being based around whole foods and including exercise, which is why I set up RFL the way that I did. Finally, there's crap about metabolic slowdown and all of that. Yes, it's true that the magnitude and rate of metabolic slowdown on an RFL type diet is larger, but the fat losses are double or more faster than a normal diet. So it ends up being a fucking wash. The diet also gets over sooner, and when you bring calories back to maintenance, there's essentially no difference. Because of course there's not. For the equivalent fat loss, the same adaptations are going to be seen. RFL just does it faster. And there's more and more and more, and all of it is easily disprovable by just looking at the research, which you'd think supposed evidence-based people would. And yet, here we are. Which is all lead into a case study of someone who used RFL to achieve single-digit body fat levels with no muscle or performance loss by doing exactly as written. That someone was me. Now, coming into this RFL, my body fat was up a little bit because I'd been trying to make at least some small gains, coupling dog crap style rest pause training with a slight calorie surplus. But it was time to lean out. So I decided to just go hard and get it over with. RFL was the solution, and in contrast to people who seem to read only every third word of my books, I did it exactly as I recommend it to people. First, let's look at my results. In the first image, you can see the trajectory of my weight and my waist measurement, which I took every morning the entire time. Well, I actually didn't start tracking until week 2 of the diet, which is only 3 or 4 weeks as shown. But you can see that almost daily weight and or waist drops with the occasional stall. Also, each week there is a body weight and waist spike, usually from Sunday to Monday. This is due to the inclusion of 1 or occasionally 2 higher carb days, which are shown by the downward arrows. That first 2-day carb load was just me being curious about the temporal dynamics of weight and appearance changes. And the others were just due to having dinner plans with a friend, figuring I'd be eating carbs anyway, and might as well do a carb load on that first day. At the very end of the diet, I decided to finish with a 2-day carb load to see what my final body weight, etc., waist, and also appearance would be. Now, during this time, I was taking pictures daily, although I'm not going to put all of them up. Instead, here are the Saturday morning pictures. They're all taken in my bathroom, under the same lighting, the same distance from the camera. No camera tricks. The big thing to notice is that the visual changes are kind of small initially, but then accelerate rapidly, especially in the ab area. This is really common for men, where it can often take a while for the abs to start to move, but when it does, it moves really quickly. I've put up the weight change graphic again, and you can see in that final week, my waist measurement is dropping almost daily. When there's no fat left to lose on the body, and it's all coming off from one area, the changes are rapid and profound. To show you the results, I've put up a flex picture, and this was taken Saturday morning before I'd eaten at the end of the diet. So my body weight was lowest, and I was as dry and dehydrated as possible. Quite in fact, I'm both leaner and drier than Mr. Mike Israetel has ever been on stage. You can see my six-pack, obliques, some veins, even under all that fucking body hair. Shit, that alone is worth 5 pounds of lean body mass. I wasn't quite stage ready, but another month of RFL and I truly would have brought better conditioning than Mike ever has. And I didn't even have to get plastic surgery. Finally is another flex picture taken after the 2-day carb load, and roughly a 7-pound weight gain that shows you the significant amount of water and glycogen. Just for comparison, I've put them side by side, and honestly, I don't know if there's a huge visual difference. Like, I'm definitely fuller, maybe not quite as dry in the post-carb load pictures, but I also didn't take a couple days to dehydrate again to see where I would have been after glycogen loading. Also, I think my camera lens was dirty on the second picture. All right, so let's look at how I did it. First is the diet, and the RFL diet is but simple. I targeted roughly 200 grams of protein per day, while including some fiber and or steamed veggies at every meal. I included approximately 2.4 grams of combined EPA DHA. That's because my pills contain 1.2 grams apiece. So I took 2 of them. And I drank absolute shitloads of sugar-free Crystal Light. I generally don't eat in the morning and simply ate 50 grams of protein at noon, 3 p.m., 6 p.m., and 9 p.m. Since people always ask, here's my actual meal plans. Not that it matters. I tell people in my Facebook group that an RFL meal should consist of lean protein, vegetables, and some existential dread for taste. And I'm only half kidding. So here's what I did, because I'm not a foodie, I just care about the macros. Meal 1 at noon. 2 scoops of whey protein, mixing sugar-free Crystal Light with my creatine, some bovine collagen for my hip, and some guar gum to slow down digestion. 50 grams of protein. Roughly 3 p.m., I'll have another scoop of protein powder and Crystal Light with guar gum, along with 5 slices of Costco low-fat ham eaten straight out of the package. 50 grams of protein. 6 p.m., I'll have a can of Costco canned chicken with as little light ranch dressing as needed to make it edible, with a cup of steamed vegetables with liberal amounts of low salt for electrolytes, and usually some Crystal Light on the side. And at 9 p.m., I'll grill some chicken breast and make faux stir fry with a cup of steamed vegetables, that fake konjac rice, and soy sauce. And that's it. 200 grams of protein, probably more with the dinner meal, but I don't track it. So during the day, I drink a metric acid of sugar-free Crystal Light for hydration because it tastes good, and that's it. I do that every day. Same meals. It doesn't matter. And if I must have a snack, just a little something to take the edge off. I'll have a couple slices of Costco ham. It's 10 grams of protein, 40 calories, just to take the edge off. It's not a complicated diet, but it doesn't lack anything. So you ask, what about the carb up days? Like I said in the introduction, I usually had 1 or 2 higher calorie, higher carb days. And I'm putting that in, air quotes because I wasn't really carb loading. I wasn't trying to target like 12 to 16 grams per kilo like in my Ultimate Diet 2. It's just a higher calorie day with added carbs. It's usually scheduled because I had dinner plans that night or something. So post-workout was probably the biggest change. Because after I trained, I did include a post-workout meal. Now, first and foremost, I will always eat a Metrix chocolate chip cookie dough bar because I like them and they provide 32 grams of protein. Now to that, taking a cue from Mr. Mike Israetel, I do have a big bowl of cereal. But unlike him, I specifically chose Cinnamon Toast Crunch. Why, you ask? Well, we know that cinnamon is a glucose disposal agent. And along with my noon caffeine pill, this ensures better glycogen storage in muscles. I think this is where Mr. Mike Israetel goes wrong in choosing Cheerios. You'll also note my choice of 1% milk, this being based on the fact that even low-fat milk is more anabolic than fat-free milk due to the impact of the food matrix. It also bumps the total protein content of the meal to over 40 grams. Finally, I'll have an apple or half an apple, chosen due to the fact that the small amounts of fructose in feeding the liver ensure that glucose enters the bloodstream to improve glycogen storage, which combined with the cinnamon and caffeine ensures optimal storage. And this is probably why, in contrast to Mr. Mike Israetel, I don't get excessive water storage in my love handles, or whatever bullshit excuse he makes for being out of shape on stage. Ah well, there's always plastic surgery, right, Mr. Israetel? Now at lunch, roughly 4 hours later, I have my next meal, simply building on my second RFL meal. Depending on my dinner plans, it's always one of 2 options. The first is to take my normal RFL protein drink plus ham slices and consume 2 meat sandwiches. 5 slices of ham apiece, which is 25 grams of protein per sandwich, along with a glass of milk and another apple. It's just the RFL protein source with added carbs and fats. RFL is a modular diet approach. If I'm not in the mood for ham, I'll take the same canned chicken with steamed veggies from RFL, and I'll make 2 canned chicken sandwiches with the same glass of milk and an apple. Again, just adding carbs and a small amount of fat to the normal RFL meal. Dinner. Now, on some of the carb load days, I was having dinner out, although if I did, I just simply focus on protein and carbs more than anything. I don't track or count. I've been doing this for decades, and it doesn't matter given the amounts I was eating. Depending on the size of the meal, I might have something at bedtime, but it wasn't universal. If I was home for dinner, I would take my normal RFL dinner meal of grilled chicken and soy sauce, steamed veggies over konjac rice, and make it with sweet and sour sauce over sticky rice. Real stir fry. Again, with a glass of milk, because I love milk. And once again, I just took my standard RFL meal, made some strategic changes, switched out the no-carb fake rice with the real stuff, and a non-caloric topping with something with taste. It's easy peasy. And the next day, it was right back to RFL. So far as my training, well, it was as simple, just like it is recommended in the book. Like I said, I was coming from dog crap style rest pause, that is an activation set to failure followed by rest pause mini sets. I was training 3 days a week, upper lower, ABA split. Each workout gets hit twice, 3 times every 2 weeks, every 5th day. It's perfect for an oldster like me with poor recovery. I kept that training structure on RFL. The difference being that I reduced the volume from the dog crap style training, just like I recommend in the book, just like I've been saying since 2002. You can reduce volume by up to 2/3 so long as you maintain intensity, which is weight on the bar. Now, to reduce the dog crap volume, I simply dropped the mini sets. So I would go in and do a single set to concentric failure, making sure to use the same weight I had ended at during the dog crap phase. That was it. My upper body workout, super simple. So start with hammer incline chest press, hammer high row, pec deck, shrug back, incline dumbbell fly, pull over machine, lateral raise machine, rear delt, reverse pec, upright row, face pull not shown, tricep push down, dumbbell curl, tricep press machine, and then finish up with an incline dumbbell curl machine. 14 total sets. I superset movements, and my rest interval as long as it takes me to limp across the gym to the next exercise. The total workout time is about 30 minutes. My lower body is a little bit different. I've got some pretty severe FAI in my left hip, which really limits what I can do. So most compound lower body movements are out, and I do the following. So I do a series of leg extensions, leg curl with hip extension, calf raise, and I go back to leg extension, leg curl with hip extension again, calf raise, and then I finish up with hack squats. And I do the isolation work first to pre-fatigue my quads, hamstrings, and glutes. It forces me to use less weight on the hack squat, which saves my poor hip. But total workout is 9 sets. Total training time, roughly 20 minutes, depending on how long I dawdle before hack squats. And that's it. That's all I did on RFL. 3 workouts. Upper body took 30 minutes. Lower body took 20 minutes. Total training time per week was never more than 90 minutes. Now, not only does RFL not allow for cardio, I can't really do much because of my left hip. I can barely walk my dogs as it is. So I just let RFL and the huge deficit it creates do the work. 3 short weight training workouts a week. No cardio. I let the diet do the work, and I showed you the results. The only change that I made was that on my carb load days, I would do a full body workout and basically do the upper and lower all at one go. So it's about 50 minutes, just to give the calories somewhere to go. So for all of you still buying into this high volume contest prep fat loss bullshit, please listen to me. It's not only not necessary, it's not productive. Weight training is not going to improve your fat loss on a diet. Cardio and the deficit will do that. Oh, and not eating protein bars wrapped in fucking tortillas like Mr. Mike Israel. Weight training should have one goal and one goal only on a diet, to maintain muscle mass. And you can do that with low volume as long as you keep the intensity high. Because I did. And so has literally everyone who has ever followed RFL to the letter, or who I have worked with and given low volume, high intensity training during extreme diets. They get to contest lean with 0 muscle loss, no overtraining, no exhaustion, no joint pains, because they're not doing the stupid bullshit that all the druggies like Mr. Mike Israel are still recommending be done on a cut. Because during that time, during those 4 weeks, with that minimum workout, I lost nothing in the weight room. I didn't have to reduce the weight on a single exercise. I think I lost 1 rep on machine lateral raises. That was it. I went in, 1 set to failure, the exercises I listed, and I went the fuck home. I lost 0 muscle as my body composition, and pictures show, that's it. Fuck high volume contest prep dieting. It's stupid. And that's it. My personal RFL results. Over 4 weeks, I lost a significant amount of fat, reaching single digits, dry, conditioned, veiny, with no muscle loss, looking better than Mike, with all of his fucking drugs, has ever looked on stage. I said if I cared, I could have put another month and been contest lean, and certainly leaner than Mr. Mike has ever been. So if you want proof of methods working, here are mine. I did it on 90 minutes per week of total training with proper diet, foods, and nutrition. Those methods work. Protein bars and tortillas with excuses about a tan and expensive plastic surgery don't. And since now you'll all want a copy of Rapid Fat Loss, I'm going to provide you with a new coupon code. And this replaces the Mike Has No Tan code. For the entire month of December, that is through December 31st, you can now use the coupon code Mike Has No Pro Card for 15% off of any of my products. That includes all of my books, consultations, and it will stack with my multiple book offer. If you want a diet advice that works, you can now get it cheaper than ever. Go to store.bodyrecomposition.com, use coupon code Mike Has No Pro Card, 15% off of everything. And you too, by following my methods, can show Mr. Mike Israel how dieting is meant to be done.